I'm sitting there, I'm hearing my partner tell me, in essence, and obviously you by extension, how to be a fan. This is what he's saying. And I didn't even have the energy to text Jess. I truly didn't. The only thing we did was button up the Bauer interview, which will be later. Trevor Bauer in studio at 11. Couldn't even write back to you guys, right? And this lunatic is ranting and raving and telling us what to feel going into the Jets-Patriots game. I got news for you, pal. I don't care what you think. I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care how anybody judges my fandom. I couldn't care less if the Jets win or lose. And let me beat you to your response before you start hammering back. Well, you lost 15 straight to Bill Belichick. Don't you hate being owned? Yeah, I do. But it doesn't matter. The Jets have a head coach that I don't trust. They have a quarterback playing this week who means absolutely nothing in my world. I watched some of their highest profile players, Sauce Gardner among them, quit visibly against the Cleveland Browns. Matter of fact, I'll tell you this. I'm actually hoping they lose more than I'm hoping that they win.
And see, that's where I have a problem because you're entitled to do whatever you want. But as a fan, you're doing yourself a disservice, and not just you. This is for everybody out there. And we've had this talk and conversation for years about this. Tank for this guy, suck for that guy, blah, blah, blah. Suck for Sam, tank for Trevor. Yeah, how'd that work out exactly? You as a fan, whether you are a Giants fan going into this game against Philadelphia, whether you are a Jet fan going into this game against the New England Patriots, you're doing yourself a disservice if you do not sit there at 1 o'clock and watch your team and root for your team to win. This is what sports fandom is about. It's not the draft picks and analytics and where you're going to end up in the draft. Who the hell knows what that stuff? Let that fall where it may. And then after the game goes final, and by the way, you can root for the Giants and Jets to win. Odds are they're going to lose anyway. But as a fan, you should be rooting for them to win. Worry about the other stuff afterward and then go for it. Because, BT, you're robbing yourself of potential joy.
Wait, joy?
Yeah, which sports fans, we don't get enough. You wouldn't take any satisfaction as a Jet fan in beating Bill Belichick in potentially his final game in New England?
I understand that that's the big story. You want the honest answer? Not really.
Right, but what satisfaction are you going to get out of the draft?
I'll tell you.
It's been 14 years you haven't been in the playoffs, and you're worried about a draft slot. We're going to move up 2 slots.
I don't think satisfaction is the right word. I'll tell you where I will get a little satisfaction. Watching the Knicks against Philly tonight. You know, that'll give me some. I'm calling St. John's Villanova tomorrow down in Philly. I'm so past the point of satisfaction with the Jets. They haven't given me a modicum of satisfaction.
You going to watch the game?
Of course I'm going to watch the game.
Are you going to root for the Patriots or one of the Jets?
No, I'm going to sit there stone-faced, bored, and emotionless like I've sat there for the last 5 weeks. That's what's going to happen. They score a touchdown, maybe my eyebrow will raise. They throw a pick six, maybe my head will cringe. I don't know. I'll shrug my shoulder. Who cares?
I'm also going to call BS on you and everybody else because I've done this too in my life before. I can't take it with this team anymore. I'm rooting for them to lose. I hope they lose. And then I'm watching the game, and there's something in me that I just can't root for them to lose. That's my team.
I can.
I want to see them win.
I can, and I have.
Maybe you're a worse person than I am.
Well, I mean, listen.
If you're a Giants fan, you don't think you'd want to beat the
Giants
Eagles?
are a little different this week.
Why? They could get a better draft pick if they lose.
I understand that. There are situations that are a little unique. And it's funny because they're actually quite similar because the Giants have been owned by Philly.
Right.
And the Jets have been owned by the Pats.
That's
the
what
Giants I know, not to that extent, but maybe in my own mind, I'm holding out hope that if the Jets with Simeon, if they somehow, if they get smashed and it's just optically disgusting and they lose 27-6, that maybe Woody Johnson changes his mind and gets rid of Robert Saleh. I mean, maybe deep down, that's what I'm hoping for. And here's the other thing, too. I understand. Well, let me flip it as a question. You like to gamble, right, a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately. Sometimes a little too much.
All right. Well, listen, I've had my day. And,
What, you got a winner for me? Give me a winner. I need one. What do you got Saturday
Take the Patriots. That's the winner right there. No.
You're not kidding.
I know.
And I will, by the way.
You probably should.
Right.
I mean, I dabble as well.
Yeah.
I obviously promote FanDuel. Great betting website. Fantastic. All right. So when you place a wager, aren't you you're studying odds and you're looking at trends and you're putting yourself in a position, the best possible position to win the bet. Right. Fair assertion?
Yes.
Okay. So what I think
Usually you don't bet with your heart, right?
Yeah, not that we don't, but when we do, it's usually not a good thing. So to me, I think that's what's been stripped away from this conversation. When it's as loud and as black and white as, how can you want your team to lose or you must root for your team to win? The answer's in between. Like, I'm not sitting here rooting for a draft slot. What I'm doing is I'm sitting here calculating the odds that will give me the better chance at getting a player that will ultimately help me.
Yeah, but
and if you're picking 12th versus 6th, you've got to bet. Now you still got to pick the right guy. I know. You still got to coach him up. I know. And those are different factors that the Jets always mess up. But just in terms of putting my team in a position to have access to somebody to get us out of this hellhole, that's what I'm rooting for.
Right, but you're rooting for your team to lose.
That's fine.
For something that is the furthest thing from a given possible.
It's fine.
In this particular case, now you want to make the case for tank for Trevor, fine, but I still think that was wrong. But in this case, both the Jets and Giants, they're not going to have the number 1 pick. I mean, that's definitive. The Jets aren't even going to take a quarterback, so even worse for you to say you'd rather see your team lose to the New England Patriots and Belichick beat you again and you embarrass yourself again to close out the year because you might move up a slot
you might
or
get
two.
A better offensive lineman who might give Aaron Rodgers more protection, who might lead to a win against the Dolphins in December and get them in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah,
to help them win games because as a fan you want to sit there and watch your team win games, right? Well,
that's the general thought, sure.
So then that's what you should do. Same for the Giants. It's the Giants you could actually make a better argument because they're going to be taking a quarterback and you'd rather have the higher pick because you get a better chance to get. But still, there's no guarantee anyway. We've seen some of the great quarterbacks of all time either drafted late, drafted 3rd round, whatever it may be. There's no guarantee with these picks. And let me ask you this. See, let's simplify. I'm trying to simplify because sometimes I think we're too smart for our own good.
I think some people are.
Yeah,
I agree
look
with
at the draft pick and this and that, and look at this guy and this is what they need. Your son, Colt, big Jet fan.
Mm-hmm.
What's he going to be rooting for this weekend?
He is, I try to keep the young lad optimistic. By the way, it's his birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday, Colt. I didn't even know that.
They're 9 today. Yeah, man. So I say with Louis Cartaseca. So happy birthday to my son, Colt, and happy birthday to the great Lou Cartaseca.
Happy birthday, Colt. That's great. And
Thanks,
maybe for his birthday, he wants a Jets dub over the Patriots.
I know he wants a Johnny's win tomorrow.
He hasn't seen it in his life, has he?
You know what?
9 years. Has he even seen a Jets win over the Patriots?
No. I'm trying to keep his mind clean. See, I'm 50. He's 9.
Right. You've endured that.
I mean, So I try to conceal that resignation and that depressed nature because I don't want that to, eventually if they keep this up, it will infiltrate his mind and his body.
There's no way.
But I want it to get there organically, not because daddy's walking around miserable. So I'll keep it to myself.
There's no way you're going to sit there and watch that game with him on Sunday, his birthday weekend, and root for the New England Patriots and Belichick. He'd be, Dad, what the hell are you doing?
No, I'm not. I'm just not going to root for anything. I'm going to sit now if the Jets score.
He's going to root like hell for the Jets.
And he gives me a touchdown and a Jets score, high five, boom. I'll dap him up.
There you go.
I'll play the game. No. I'll pretend that I'm excited.
You're too smart for your own good. Just be happy.
Happy.
You're Jet fans.
Oh, yes, I'm thrilled. Yeah,
how
I'm happy.
How many wins has 9-year-old Colt had in his lifetime? For goodness sake, root for one on Sunday.
877-337-6666. I can't. BT and Sal here on the Fan. Inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Friends of Town Fair reminds you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. And we're getting to these phones right now. But honestly, do you really? To me, this is living in the moment too much. Let's say the Jets win at the gun, 17-16, slop fest. Nobody does anything. Turnovers, couple of field goals, whatever, right? And they win. 49-yard field goal, boom, time expires, Jets win. All right. Do you really think that brief moment of excitement, exultation, if you like, exulting in the moment?
Yeah.
Where does that get you? Where does it literally get you?
You're thinking,
what does it do for you?
It gives you the satisfaction of the moment.
And
That's
it
what
dissipates in a
are.
second. And then I watched the draft in April, and I'm sitting there saying, damn it, that's the offensive tackle that I wanted. And he just went 4 slots before I'm picking because of a meaningless, stupid win for a coach and a team I don't believe in right now.
But by that logic, and by the way, throw the Giants in there as well because they're playing the Eagles. If I'm a Giant fan, I want to beat the Eagles. I don't want I'm not looking at a draft pick yet. I'll worry about that afterward. The damage has been done because the Giants already won a few games in a row, right? So by that logic, should just teams go into the season saying, hey, you know what? I really don't believe in it. Like the Giants come into the year, I really don't believe in Daniel Jones. Why not just suck all year long and we could get Caleb Williams?
That's different from team tanking, which they don't do. You cannot do that in football versus what fans process. I understand the Jets aren't going there to tank. I respect that. They're going. I hope they play hard.
I just think we
Just
should.
hope they don't win.
I think as fans sometimes we're too smart for our own good. Simplify. It is very far and few between. As sports fans as a whole, I don't care who you root for, that you actually get to enjoy things. A lot of it is miserable and losing and negativity. How could you sit there possibly and root against your team?
It's easy. Chris, it is. Chris is in Center Reach, BT and Sal on the Fan. Chris, what's happening, buddy? How are you?
Hey, guys. Great show. Want to say happy birthday to your son, BT.
Thanks, Chris.
I stand in the same perspective as you, man. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm rooting against the Jets this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that a loss helps us get an important piece, could potentially help us get an important piece to our offense that we'll need for next year. The one thing I'm rooting for on Sunday is the young guys, Will McDonald, Jason Brownlee, Xavier Gibson. I want to see these guys. You know, those are the guys that I'm rooting for on Sunday. I'm not sitting here rooting for a win or a loss. I just want to see the young guys develop on Sunday.
You're going to watch the game and not root?
I'm not going to say I'm not going to root for a win. I'm not going to root for a loss because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me as a fan. I just want to see the young guys develop and hope we can build on top of that next
Chris,
year.
that's smart. Chris, I'll tell you what. Listen, Trevor, thank you for the call there, Chris. Sal, this might be different. Might be. Actually, probably would be if Trevor Siemian wasn't playing. Like if it was Zach and there was still hope of like if this was a year ago or this was Darnold early. Why am I rooting for some veteran retread who stinks?
Because you're a fan.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
You want your team as a fan. You want your team to win games. I mean, we can now apply. This is what I mean by fans have gotten too smart for their own good here. It's always about next. Like you can make a case every single year for every single team that is out of it to then just lose every game toward the rest of the way because they have a higher draft pick, which you think is going to change things around, which generally doesn't. I mean, I'm talking every sport. Oh, why? Well, then why not just lose games? As fans, we're rooting for teams to lose games now because we think that the draft pick that is usually not going to pan out anyway, it's going to change everything. Come on, like you're doing yourself a disservice. I just don't understand the logic. Simplify. You're a sports fan. You root for your team to win. End of story.
Unless they don't deserve it anymore. It's two-way street, man. Let's call it for what it is. I mean, you talk about blind faith and blind loyalty. Oh, yeah, I'll buy the Jets merchandise. I had season tickets back in the day. I spend $50 for parking, whatever it was for beers back then. I watch every game. I consume everything. Santa brings Jet stuff. Birthdays, Jet stuff. There's a limit. Like, eventually you've got to reciprocate. I mean, what are we, idiots? Oh, come on, Jets. I almost just cursed. I don't care. I don't care if they win. I don't.
Yeah,
and I'm not afraid to say it.
But then first of all, I don't even believe that. Like I believe that you believe it in the moment.
I don't care.
At your core, you do.
At my core,
you were on you like a lunatic after Rodgers goes down the first day of the season talking about we're unkillable. We will not be killed. Jets this, Jets that, all year long. I'm like, bro, do you not see that this team sucks? What's wrong with you? And you're like, they're going to win this game, that game. We're resilient. But they stink. But yet you love them. That's your team, and that's fine.
I do love them. But it's not love without boundaries. You know, sometimes you get spurned long enough, you've got to reposition the love that you show back. I'll love them again. I'll always love them. But right now,
you think Giant fans? We've done a lot.
Could care less about this game.
You think Giant fans want to lose to the Philadelphia Eagles?
No, I think it's a little different there.
But
because
they
believe in their coach.
The same thing?
It's different. They were in the playoffs last year. They believe in Dable. They believe in Shane. I believe in nothing with the Jets.
But then why would you want them to lose? Because your only logic for having them lose would be to get a better draft pick. Oh, well, unless you want Sal to get fired. But that's not going to happen.
If they lose 30-3, I mean, you don't think there's a chance that Woody changes his mind? He just got blistered by the Browns. You haven't played.
I mean, should he need to see that?
I mean, that's true. That's
Sal is the worst coach. I did this yesterday.
I saw that. That I agreed with from my bed. That I said I got no problem with that part.
But if you're rooting for a higher draft pick, the Giant fan certainly has a better argument for that too. But you're in the moment. You're playing the Eagles, Jets, Patriots, Giants, Eagles. Like if you're rooting for your team to lose in this type of matchup, I'm sorry, that's pathetic as a fan.
Then I will wear the pathetic tag for a little bit. I really will. Lou is in Brooklyn. BT and Sal. Lou, what's happening, buddy? How are you?
How's it going? I totally agree with Sal that you should be rooting for your team. However, because the draft the spots would not make that big of a difference anyway. However, a couple of years ago, I definitely rooted against the Jets so they can get Trevor Lawrence, because that made a big difference.
So Lou, you don't agree with Sal. You just contradicted yourself.
I do agree with Sal.
No, but you don't, because you've already done. Lou, you've already done.
Let me explain.
I will, but hold on. You've already done what he's telling you shouldn't do.
Right.
So you disagree with Sal.
Because I would not have tanked for Trevor. And by the way, if you did and you ended up getting Trevor Lawrence, he would have been a disaster here. That is a prime example. There was the whole suck for Sam thing, BT.
He would have been a disaster.
Suck for
what
Sam.
do you mean he would have been a disaster?
So the Jets, suck for Sam, suck for Sam, suck for Sam. Well, they didn't even have to have the number 1 pick. They still got Sam, and guess what? He sucked because they suck. So it's not about the draft pick. It's about going out there and rooting for your team to win. Go ahead, Lou.
All right. Here's the issue. If they had a weighted lottery like they do in the other major sports, we wouldn't even have this conversation. And that's what they should do. And that's what you should be pushing.
What's
a
that?
weighted lottery.
I'm talking about like the NBA. Thanks for the call there, Lou.
Well, how's that weighted?
Well, I mean, just based on the odds, based on where you finish, the
like
amount
the top
of balls,
3.
the whole thing. They do Ernst & Young on NBA lottery, the percentage, 12.5% finish top 3, blah, blah. Like, here's the thing. But I'm not even talking. Thanks for the call, Lou.
But that's like.
Yeah, I liked it better when the commissioner just did us a solid and picked out the Nick thing because it was frozen solid to give us Ewing. I like those situations.
Now it's been the
better.
opposite. Right. It's 40 years later, whatever it is, and the Knicks actually deserve the number 1 pick because they win 13 games or 17 games, and they don't get it. They get number 3 and R.J. Barrett.
Who's
Thanks.
gone.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's, and again, thanks for the call there, Lou. I think that's a totally different conversation that we're not even trying to have today. Like, what's the best setup for different sports in terms of the draft? Please understand, because I know this comes across a little convoluted as we discuss this. By no means am I suggesting at all that the Jets should tank. I'm not remotely saying that. I know they don't. I know they won't. If you try to tank in football, you get hurt. You get physically hurt. So that's not happening. What I'm saying is I want them to lose. I want them to lose.
Yeah, and that's just hard for me to comprehend.
I get it.
And I know you're not alone. And I think that this type of mentality has kind of been snowballing for years with fans.
Yeah.
Where they're getting too smart for their own good. Instead of it just used to be, like, I've rooted for losers my entire life. I still do. And it didn't matter if, let's say, the Mets were 68 and, 80 something, whatever it may be.
Sure.
I went to Shea Stadium and I rooted like hell to see this team win. I wasn't thinking about, guess what? If they lose out, they could have the top draft pick.
Well, because it's different in baseball, because you don't even know these players are largely anonymous.
Look at what the Astros did. I
you know what I'm saying? You don't know the kids in college, high school.
Now it's become a thing where teams value those draft picks greatly.
Yeah, more so than,
even to a point where it came up with the Mets this year where they could have had a top pick. I forget the way that it works. You could use the Falcons, who I grew up rooting for. Again, I'm like a mid-Falcon fan at this particular point, but I remember them having crappy teams. I didn't look at the record or think about next year. I looked at the game that day. Go beat the Aints. You know what I'm saying? Are we fans or not? Are sports fans, we root for our teams to win, not to lose.
Are we suckers or not?
Yeah,
That's a better question.
We definitely are that.
Yes, 877-337-6666. BT and Sal, Brandon Tierney, Sal Licata Show. Trevor Lawrence, Trevor Bauer in studio at 11. I know you guys are really looking forward to that, as are we. But, I mean, this is just, there's limits, dude. And blindly walking the plank into the shark-infested waters. Yes, Jets, I want you to. Nonsense. You got to start doing something for me. You have to. Otherwise, I don't care if you win.